So what is a one-page punch-up? Well, we put word out to our chart topper patrons. Send us one page from your work in progress. We'll give it to a top editor and they will critique it on the show, and we will all learn something and get inspired. And you, dear listener, can read along. You can download the PDFs in the show notes that accompany this show. Now, we've had another barrage of entries, 3 times as many as we normally get. So we were absolutely deluged. So thank you to everyone who sent their one page in. We can't feature them all, and the standard, as always, was really, really high. Now, if you want to get involved for the next time, pop over to bestsellerexperiment.com/support, and we'll be opening the window soon for the next round of one-page submissions. And that's for our chart topper supporters. They also get invited to our live shows. They get all sorts of other fun extras, as well as getting their regular weekly episodes early, the exclusive to Patreon deep dive episodes, 70 episodes of new material. And we've been speaking to all sorts of amazing people about that. That's, starting your own publisher, audio dictation software, Facebook ads, Amazon ads, creative writing courses, all sorts of stuff. And if you're an author who wants to dig deeper into these subjects, then come and support the podcast at bestsellerexperiment.com/support. Thank you to everyone who supports us. We could not do the show without you. And now to introduce our editor, old friend of the podcast, Emad Akhtar, who is a publisher at Orion. He's worked with authors such as Ian Rankin and Michael Connolly. But get this, folks, he has just been shortlisted for Editor of the Year at the British Book Awards, also known as the Nibbies. Emad, congratulations and welcome back, sir. How are you?
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm good. I'm looking forward to being stuck in my house full of books for 3 months or whatever it's going to be. Who knows? But books will get us through it, I think.
They will indeed. Listeners, yes. If you're normally Emad and I try and be in the same room together because, it's great to see the paper and make notes together and stuff like that. But certain world-changing events to do with a certain virus mean we're doing this over the phone. So, bear with us. But we can do this, right? So we've got 5 pages to get through. Emad, let me know which one you want to start with, and I'll read it out.
Let's start with the Wonder Girls. Know that one? Jan
Carr.
Say the name? Yeah, Jan Carr.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. The Wonder Girls. Okay. In fact, this is the Wonder Girls 2. So I know this is a sequel. So bear that in mind. Okay. So The Wonder Girls by J.M. Carr. Having lived most of her 11 or so years on the streets of London, the comfort of the newly done-up Lily, a railway carriage from Queen Victoria's time, meant baby just couldn't get comfortable. It was like her clothes didn't fit. In fact, they didn't fit, not usually, and she was used to that. She was used to hitching up her skirt with a bit of rope or rolling her sleeves till they were donuts round her wrists. She was used to the slick slock of old, warm boots. She was used to finding a barrel to sleep in, not a giant bed that filled a whole room with pillows and colourful quilts and hot water bottles when the frost sparkled outside. It was an itch she couldn't shift, like a flea had made its home on baby and was going nowhere, no matter how many baths June Lovelock, the kindly new orphanage matron, made her have. And in spite of the 3 good meals a day prepared lovingly by Mabel, the orphanage cook, and Brian, a 14-year-old girl with Down syndrome who was learning the trade, the fullness in baby's belly weighed her down. The plan had always been to go to America, where the pickings were like you'd never seen. Maybe it was time to go, at last. Sitting at the table, her legs dangling against the chair, as the sun poured bright and warm through the window, baby rested her chin heavily in her hand and puffed a long, lip-burbling sigh. She closed her eyes in the warmth and tried to imagine how she would tell them all, Brian especially, that her and Fingers were leaving. She heard a train whistle on its way out of the station, sparrows squabble in the bushes that grew round the little clearing outside, and she heard a twig crack. Now they knew it was here. Nettlefield folk did come for a look at the lily from time to time. They were generally polite. Baby waited for the knock on the door. Instead, a coolness on her cheek, as if a cloud had hidden the sun, made her shiver. And that's from The Wonder Girls 2 by J.M. Carr. Emad, what do you think?
Very nicely read. Yeah, I really like this one. My big question around it is what, and I'll ask you because you might actually know or have a different opinion. What year do you think this is set in? That is the one thing that I wasn't fully clear on. It doesn't feel like it's nowadays, but it's obviously later than Victorian times. So what would you say, like 40s, 30s?
I think you're right. I think you're right. I think the Wonder Girls one I know is to do with the black shirts in Britain. So we're talking
so
30s wartime London. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
But I mean, to be honest, if you're reading the whole book, or if you had the copy on Amazon or on the back, the blurb on the back of the book, you would know that by the time you read it. So that was just one question. I like the sense of character coming through. It made me very, what's the word? I guess sort of, you're kind of rooting for the character, and it made me curious as to, how is this character with this background ended up in this situation, who's not used to a life of luxury and comfort and all that. So I thought that was all quite appealing. In terms of just some of the kind of more granular stuff, kind of going from the top to the bottom from that first paragraph. If you look there's this slightly clunky repetition of comfort. The comfort of the newly done up Lily meant she couldn't get comfortable. It's probably fine because they're using the words in different ways. But then the next line, it was like her clothes didn't fit. In fact, they didn't fit, not usually, and she was used to that. So then it's kind of overdoing this sort of inversion technique or whatever you'd want to call that. And that just feels a little bit like to have that straight after the comfort bit just feels a little bit like each time you use that device, the impact is going to be slightly reduced. And actually the comfort and the clothes one doesn't fully add up in the sense that it was like her clothes didn't fit, but in fact they didn't, not usually, because she should be used to that, therefore, so she should be fine with the other thing. It's a slightly had been kind of chasing my tail there, but though I do know what the author means. And I'm being harsh, obviously, because I think the voice is good and it's a nice kind of appealing sort of introduction. What is a slock? I don't know what a slock is.
I don't know, but I love that. I made a little note there. She was used to the slick slock of old worn boots. Yeah. I think is that a sound? Is that
I wasn't sure if it was a sound or a quality, but I think I liked it as well. And just kind of it sort of worked for some reason, despite not really knowing what it was. So I think I have a similar take on that. And then I think the author has a good sense of timing, because they got to the end of the next paragraph, about colourful quilts, hot water bottles when the frost sparkled outside. Yeah. And just at that moment, I was kind of curious about who this person was and how they ended up in this, not exactly luxury, but certainly more luxurious setting than they were used to. And just at that time, she sort of explains, well, he or she, actually, I'm not sure, the author explains just what the setting is and what's going on. And you get a nice sense of the wider cast of characters and this kind of homely sort of setting which they're planning on leaving. It's not entirely clear why the character wants to leave. I would guess that this is the kind of character who just likes being on the move and has sort of itchy feet. That would be my best guess. And then we get to a little bit later on, she's kind of just sitting there. This is what the technical term is. You get talky scenes and thinky scenes, and I would call this a thinky scene.
Okay.
It's not really a technical term. It's just how I categorize these things to myself. So this is more of a thinky scene, isn't it?
Editor of the year, folks. Editor of the
year. Take that. Write that down. Thinky scenes and talky scenes. There are no other types of scenes. Punchy scenes and runny scenes.
Runny scenes.
Anyway, But you do get a sense of the train of thought, no pun intended, with the carriage and everything of this character. So it felt like the author knows the character well, and I like feeling I'm in good hands with that kind of thing. So in that sense, I was very keen on it. I don't know who Fingers is, and there's not much of an intro, but I assume it's some kind of plucky sidekick, but I might be wrong about that. And surely Fingers is a pickpocket also, assuming any of this is to do with that, but the Pickens and the name Fingers suggest to me that it is. And then, I quite like the sort of tense, like a suspenseful ending, isn't it? It's like knowing what happens next, who is that knocking at the door. And again, it's all very internal to the character, isn't it? The coolness and the cheek and the shiver and everything. So that is my take on it. I thought it was good. Even my big question around the set, the current time of it, isn't really a big one. But overall, I thought that was very good.
Yeah, no, I liked it very much. I liked the way it unfolded. I liked the use of repetition. She was used to, she was used to, she was used to, she was used to, 4 times in one paragraph there. But like you say, it was fighting against that other thing about the clothes didn't fit, the fact they didn't fit, and so it was, there might be a bit much going on there. But I really, really liked it. I felt it was really assured.
Yeah, it had a good rhythm to it as well, as you say. Those repetitions you can get away with if you're then counterpointing them with other observations or information, which I think that you just about get away with.
The only thing that did confuse me, again, this will have context in the bigger book or maybe in the first book. We've got, and in spite of 3 good meals a day prepared lovingly by Mabel, the orphanage cook, and Brian, a 14-year-old girl. Is Brian a unisex name?
Yeah, well, I mean, I that slightly bumped me as well, but I was like, well, maybe that's just what the character's called.
Exactly.
But no, I agree. That was obviously some people would be like, that's not. It's known as a boy's name rather than a girl's name. But
yeah. Anyway, I'm sure it'll all unfold in the Wonder Girls too. So thank you so much, J.M. Cart, for sending that in. Right, Emad, what would you like to read next?
Let's go for. Very different. This one called The Mind Stream.
The Mind Stream by Edward Howard. And it begins. Chapter 1, Transcendence. Eris Wilson was buzzing.